Determine the constant rate of change between x and y in each table. So on the first one, number 1, you do the y values first. From 6 to -3 is adding 3, and I circle that. X value next, from 1 to 5 is adding 4. So your constant rate of change is the same as the slope. And because each one of these x values are adding 4, and each one of these y values are adding 3, your constant rate of change is 3 over 4. Okay, let's check the y values. From -5 to -9 is subtracting 4. And in fact, if you study it, the y values are subtracting 4 each time. So that's a -4. Okay, the number 2, from 1 to 3 is adding 2. And the x values are adding 2 each time. So the constant rate of change is -4 over 2. And -4 divided by 2 is -2, so that is the answer to that one. Okay, we're going to determine the slope of the line that passes through each pair of points. It's pretty much done the same way, except you have to construct the xy table first. So -2 is next to -1, and 3 is next to 5. Okay, to get from -1 to 5, you have to add 6. And to get from -2 to 3, you have to add 5. So your slope is 6 over 5. Circle number on top. Don't change it to a mixed number or a fraction, just leave it alone. Okay, number 4, x and y. 1 is next to 4. 1 is next to 4. -5 is next to -8. Okay, from 4 to -8 is subtracting 12. And from 1 to -5 is subtracting 6. So I have -12 over -6. Negative on top cancels with negative on the bottom. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. So your slope for this one is +2. Okay, write an equation in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. But I also use Mr. Slope Guy here to help us with direction first. So Mr. Slope Guy looks like this. If the line is going up, it's positive slope. If the line is going down, it's negative. If it's straight up and down, it's vertical. And if it's a horizontal line, it's a 0 slope. So Mr. Slope Guy says that number 5 is positive. So then you draw a right triangle under the line to connect the dots. And you count how tall the triangle is, how many blocks tall. It's 1, 2, 3 blocks tall and 1 block long. Make your fraction and simplify. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. Number 6, Mr. Slope Guy says that the slope is negative. You still draw a right triangle connecting the points under the line. This triangle is 2 blocks high and 1 block long, and 2 divided by 1 is 2. Okay, number 7. What is the y-intercept for the graph of y minus 7x equals 10? Well, if there is no number in front of a variable, it's assumed to be a 1. So this is a 1 here. Oops, sorry about that. Let me move that back up. Okay, this is a 1 here. You take the 10 and you pop it. We're just looking for the y-intercept, so just pop it above the y. That's all you need to do. And then you simplify. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So the y-intercept is 10. Okay, what are the x and y-intercepts for the graph of 2x minus 5y equals 10? You take the 10 and pop it above each one. Okay, so the 10 over 2 is stuck to the x, so that's the x-intercept. And 10 divided by 2 is 5, so the x-intercept is 5. And then for the y-intercept, you have a negative on the bottom, but no negative on the top to cancel it out, so it stays negative. And 10 divided by 5 is 2, so there you have your x and y intercepts. Number 9. What is the slope or grade of the road that rises 4 feet for every horizontal change of 80 feet? Okay, well, slope is rise over run. So rise 4, you do 4 over horizontal, that's the run part of it, 80. And you simplify. You can divide both of these by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 80 divided by 4 is 20. So that is the slope of this situation. Number 10. The cost of cookies at store A are shown in the graph. This is store A. The cost Y for X cookies at store B is represented by the equation. So store B, they give you an equation. Y equals 0.30X. Say whether the statement is true or false. The cookies at store A cost more. Well, because this is stuck to X, the 30 cents is stuck to X, that means each cookie. Because that's what sticks in number to a letter is the word each. So this is 30 cents for a cookie. And this one we don't know exactly how much one cookie costs, but we do know that 2 cookies cost 50 cents. So this is 25 cents each. This one says 30 cents each. So let's see what the statement was again. The cookies at store A cost more. This is false. Because, remember when they say explain, you need to write a sentence for an answer and use the word because. Store A is 25 cents each. And store B is 30 cents each. Okay, number 11. Write a proportion comparing the rise to the run for each of the similar slope triangles shown in the graph. So a proportion is one fraction equal to another. So the first triangle that they drew is 2 units high and 2 units long. So 2 and 2. And the second triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4 units high and 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. So that's 4 over 4. So that is the first part of the answer, writing the proportion. And then it says, then find the numeric value. Well, the numeric value is what you get when you simplify those. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So the numeric value is 1. Number 12. David is having his birthday party at a water park. The park charges $150. Okay, so the charge, oops, I don't even need that. Just a minute, let me read the question. The charge is $150 plus $10 per guest. The total cost of the party, Y, can be represented by the equation Y equals 10x plus 150. What does the slope represent? Okay, the slope means, or the slope represents, well, that word per each and every indicate that the number in front of there is the slope. So once you find that in your word problem, they're actually giving you the answer. So the slope means $10 per guest. $10 per guest. And that one is finished. Number 13, write an equation in point slope form that passes through the line y, -1, and has a slope of 2. Okay, point slope form says y minus y sub 1 equals m times parentheses x minus x sub 1. But you don't want to think of these as minus. Now we know that m is slope. So this m is 2. The reason these have a sub 1 is because that means the point they gave you. So think of the minus signs as opposites. So the y and the x stay in your equation. So you're plugging in everything else. You're plugging in the y1, the m, and the x1. So remember, these ordered pairs are in alphabetical order. So you have y that stays in your answer, the opposite of the y they gave you. The opposite of the y they gave you, the opposite of -1 is +1, equals, your slope is 2, parentheses, x, and the opposite of the x they gave you. So x and the opposite of +3 is -3. And that is the equation in point slope form. Number 14. State the x and y-intercepts for the graph of -2xy minus 5x equals -20. So you pop that -20 on top of each one of these. So the x-intercept is in front of x. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. The y-intercept is in front of y. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So those are the x and y-intercepts. Number 15. Hannah can complete 4 problems per minute. Write and solve a direct variation equation to find out how many math problems she can be expected to complete in 15 minutes. Okay. So direct variation is y equals kx. So if she can do 4 math problems per minute, the word per, whatever's after that, that represents your x value. So we've got y equals k times, it just says minute, so that means 1 minute. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, k times what equals 1? I mean, sorry, what times 1 equals 4? So k equals 4. What times 1 equals 4? K equals 4. So then you go back and continue, find out how many math problems, so we don't know why, she can expect to complete in 15 minutes. So 4 times 15, she can complete 60 problems. Okay. This is actually part of your answer as well, the direct variation equation. So we need y equals 60x. That's part of your answer also. Okay. So an administrative assistant can type 168 words in 4 minutes. At that rate, how many words can she type in half an hour? Okay, this one does not tell you necessarily that you have to write the direct variation equation, so you can actually set this up as proportions. We have words and minutes. So 168 words in 4 minutes. At that rate, how many words can she type? We don't know the words. In a half an hour. Half an hour is the same as 30 minutes. So the first thing I want to do is simplify this fraction if I can, and I can take 168 and divide those by 4. So 168 divided by 4 is 42, and 4 divided by 4 is 1, equals W over 30. Now cross multiply. So 42 times 30 is 1,260. She can type, I'm sorry, forgot the word she. She can type 1,260 words. That's the answer. Okay, the slope of a line is 1 over 2. 1 point on the line is -2/5. What is another point on the line? So slope is y over x. So if you've got 1 over 2, that literally means you can add 1 to the y and add 2 to the x. So if you take this table and put it into an xy table, -2, 5. Okay, let's add 1 to the y like the slope says. So 5 plus 1 is 6. And let's add 2 to the x. So -2 plus 2 is 0. So this right here would be another point on the line, 0, 6. There's an infinite number of answers you could have come up with. That's just one example.